What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to a quick review of the BERG X by Kastaplast. This thing just came out yesterday. I was able to secure a pair of them right away, test them today, get some footage together, and now I'm coming to you guys with a full quick review of this disc. Just to give you guys an idea of what to expect, I have a lot of different disc reviews here on the channel. If you're interested in any plastic, over 300, this disc will be in that same playlist. I've been trying to build a huge database that people can go back and look at for years to come to get an idea of what to expect from discs before they buy them, just so you can get an idea. You're never really going to know until you get out there and throw it, but I'll give you an idea of what it looks like. I'll show you what it looks like when a regular dude throws it on a few angles, and that's about all I can really give you. From there, go buy it if you want to find out. And if you want to buy these and you're in the Portland area, or you want to check out their website, thank you very much to the sponsor of this video, the Disc Golf Depot. They're my local shop. Incredible selection at this point. I mean, I was blown away. Every time I go in there, the amount of plastic that's in there is just outrageous. It's full, and they just have so much different stuff you've never heard of, stuff I've never heard of somehow, and they have all the favorites from all the big companies as well. And they hooked me up with this BERG X right here to review, and then I bought one of these to give to my buddy as well. But I had two to get out there and throw until I dye one up and give it to him. So worked out quite well. And here we go. Let's talk about the BERG X. So the BERG X is basically just a little bit more overstable version of a very unique and interesting disc on the market. It is unlike just about anything else, and this is the Kastaplast BERG. This is a K1 Soft I have in my inventory. I reviewed this disc way back when it first released, and then I reviewed it again with flight footage and all the newer stuff I do in the channel. 1102 are the flight numbers on the BERG. I would probably agree with those for the most part. It's very, very slow. It's very low glide. Flight numbers on the BERG X are 1112, so basically it replaces that 0 with a 1. Now, for a long time, I really didn't understand the positive flight number in the turn right there in the third spot, but I've been kind of starting to understand. Some people have told me that apparently we've decided as a sport, unbeknownst to me, that if there's a positive 1 there, that means the disc is more overstable the harder you try to throw it. I've yet to have anybody really explain to me exactly why that's beneficial, because I feel like I'd rather just have a disc that's real beefy when I barely throw it, and then I can lay into it, fly a little bit straighter when I put power onto it, like my Felon. It's a beefy disc for the most part, but when I throw it harder, it flies straighter and then has a little bit of fade at the end. That's always been my thought process, and then I'll throw something that's just straight all the time if I don't want it to be beefy, So I'm not exactly sure what the whole goal of that is, but I have started to kind of wrap my head around it a little bit out testing this thing, because essentially it flies like a BERG, but when you throw it harder with more power backhand, it behaves a little bit more overstable. It'll fade a little bit more, already have no turn, but it will actually start to kind of swing out to the left a little bit, which is somewhat hard to do with a regular BERG. You're not going to really throw like a power hyzer with a BERG. This BERG X, if I throw it on hyzer, especially when I try to pop it a little bit, it did have more of an aggressive fade to it. So it's an interesting concept, I guess. And as we all know, there's a million different ways to go about approaching disc golf, and everybody has different strengths and weaknesses, styles to their game. There's a million nuances in there, and that's part of the beauty of disc golf, is that there's so many different ways to accomplish the same thing sometimes. So that's the flight numbers on the BERG X. Let's take a look at it side by side with the K1 Soft, regular, standard BERG. And you'll see the only thing I can really tell when I look at these side by side is that maybe the BERG X is the tiniest bit shallower, and also the regular BERG has a more rounded shoulder here on the top, right? That kind of slopes down, and the BERG X, you can see it's more squared, right? I hope you're getting that. It's always hard to get this perspective right, but that's pretty close, and you can see what I'm talking about there. It's got more of a 90-degree-ish, shape to it. It's all very rounded and soft on the BERG, which is great. It's a super comfy disc in the hand. I've always thought that. This K1 Soft, regular BERG feels beautiful in the hand to me. I've always thought that. But yeah, that's really all I can suss out in terms of the difference. And if you were to hand me one of these blank and tell me it's just a BERG, I probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference. And for most approaches, I can't tell the difference either. Just being honest with you guys. Now, forehand and stuff, I tried to chop it over. It doesn't come out at all. It just holds that turnover straight down to the ground. almost a little too much, you know. It turns quite aggressively on that forehand anhyzer. It didn't like that at all. I'm much better at throwing that with something more stable, you know, a slammer or a harp or something like that that'll kind of fight out of that little chop over forehand. That's kind of my style. If you're looking for that, this is not a great disc for that. You know, if you want a Berg that you can chop over on a forehand and it's going to fight out, this is not the one. I think it's probably best suited for people who want a disc that feels very much like the Berg in the hand and will behave mostly the same in terms of very short range and low power shots. But if you try to blast it a little bit, you can get a little bit more of a hyzer finish out of it, which would be a nice attribute, I guess, for a Berg. So it's up to you as to whether or not that's going to be a useful attribute or a disc that you're going to want to have in your bag. But that is my impressions of the disc based on my testing today, feeling them side by side. I did not throw the regular and the BERG X back to back. I forgot to bring this one with me to do that, and I really kind of wanted to just focus on throwing the new one and see how it behaves. If you are already a BERG fan, definitely worth checking out, seeing if it's useful for you. It may or may not be something that you need to have in your bag, but that is my review on the BERG X. Thank you once again to the Disc Golf Depot here in Portland, Oregon. Check out their website and their links in the description below. If you want to go check out the shop, if you're in the Portland area, I highly recommend you do so. And if you pop in there, tell them you saw me on YouTube and I sent you, because that always helps to let my sponsors know that I'm having somewhat of an impact for you guys as well. Thank you very much to all of you for your continued support for the Disc Golf Nerd Patreon support team. I'll talk to you all very soon. Cheers.